You're listening to the Never Heard of It podcast,
a Night Shift Radio original. Every week we bring you the good,
the bad,
the weird,
and lesser known streaming movies.
Hit subscribe for new episodes every Thursday and Sunday.
Do you like my sweater?
I do like your sweater. You've worn it a couple times, I feel like. I remember as such.
I've worn it.
I do like it.
I don't think I've worn it on a recording day because I usually don't wear layers when we're recording because I end up shedding them like halfway through the longer episode anyway.
Right.
Because it gets warmer in this room. But it's like, yeah, so we had that really gorgeous week of weather when we were on our vacation. It was amazing.
Yeah.
We came back here into like some like rain, and I guess it was snowing back where we left. And I don't know, like it's been spring, and I keep forgetting that it's spring. Like I keep getting annoyed that I go to like, it fucking feels like April out here. It's because it is.
Because it is April, yeah, still very much so.
But yeah, so I put this sweater on today, but it's perfect though because it's 3/4 sleeve by design, which I love. And it's got like kind of a looser collar, so I don't have to worry about like the collar like stretching and looking weird. It just like is meant to kind of sit wider. It's nice. I love it. It's very soft too.
Oh,
so I've been a little all over the place lately. So we recently, you and I have talked about, I can't remember if we were talking on the show, how Ellen and I got caught up with the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, like right around the time the 3rd season was dropping. And you had told me Book of Boba Fett is a, like, not a must watch, but like I probably should because it feels like a, Mando season 2.5 and like
generally considered as such.
Has some overlap with the story. And mind you, like I've said numerous times to you and to other people, I have no fucking interest in watching a Boba Fett show at all when that was announced. But like his storyline in Mandalorian was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then Mandalorian was shockingly good for being part of the franchise that I don't typically think of as like anything beyond mild entertainment. So I'm like, all right, we'll give this a chance. And we started. We've watched the first 3 episodes so far, and it's fun. It's really interesting to see this whole like dynamic play out of this guy taking over like the crime families, but like trying to do right by people. And
he's gentle criminal. My Hero Academia people will recognize that, but he's basically like, listen, I'm still going to shoot you in the face. I am a criminal, but like, we're going to be cool about it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a very, very gentlemanly, very, very civil, but we'll get shit done when this. I love that he's like befriended a rancor. Like that's adorable. The whole storyline with him and the Tuskens was really neat, and like they're doing a good job of like filling in the backstory for this character that like we all knew is like basically a bit player in Jedi who like and in Empire, I guess, who dies a very unceremonious death, as so we think. And of course, in the intervening years, when people were like, "Bring back Boba Fett," I'm like, "Fucking how?"
Right.
But they did it, and they did it. And I mean, obviously, he had to claw his way out. Like that was going to be a given. But like, what happens to him afterwards? And I was surprised at the direction that they have taken that in. I will say they're doing one of the tropes in the series that I don't care for, and that's the repeat flashbacks. So like having flashbacks that tell the story, and even like having flashbacks that kind of tell an asynchronous story alongside the main, totally fine with that. But when they keep like the intro that it's going to be a flashback sequence by having the like, oh, it's Mustafar, it's rainy, oh, he's looking longingly out the window as Django flies away in Slave One, like, oh, like that's like every episode so far. I'm like, okay, Robert, you don't need to do that every episode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I'm not here to tell Robert Rodriguez how to do his job. Dude's done it enough to know what he's doing. But at the same time, Robert, listen to me. You don't have to do that.
You don't got to do that. Yeah.
But yeah, so as is often the case, we started that, but have another series going is a little bit more like lighthearted, requiring less attention for like the later night stuff like that. So we restarted Deep Space Nine because, of course, Picard just ended.
Yeah.
I don't think we've really talked much about Picard season 3 on this show, but like for me, as a lifelong child of or like a lifelong fan of the franchise since childhood, season 3 in particular, like 1 and 2 of Picard, I thought were really good, but season 3 felt like it was particularly healing to my inner child. I spent so much time this season, laughing, cheering, just straight fucking sobbing. And there were definitely directions that they took some of the characters in that I might not necessarily have agreed with or chosen, but at the end of the season, I was absolutely thrilled with how it wrapped. In the early rumors when everyone's like, "Oh, Star Trek Legacy, it's got to happen," I'm like, but how? Like, what story are they going to tell? And then they just beautifully packaged a new Enterprise story for us at the end, and just like, I love it. I love it.
Season 3, now that it's been 2 weeks,
yes.
we're out of spoiler zone, but like, I think, everyone was kind of like, 7 of 9, like 7 of 9 is the captain, fill the crew with, I don't know, people, like, it was just kind of like, I don't know who, but then when you get to the end, you're like, oh, right, the crew of the Titan, which contains two next generation, like, spawn, you're like, well, yeah, like, obviously this makes sense now.
Yeah, I mean, like, having, again, apologies for anyone who has made it this far into this show and has not yet kept up with Picard and intends to. We are spoiling some things here gently. There are things that the internet will spoil for you anyway, but I mean, Captain 7 of 9 with Raffi as first mate and Ensigns, Crusher, and LaForge, like, fuck, I am so here for every bit of that. And
right,
it's just like all of the other characters' storylines wrapping up so perfectly in a way that feels like proper closure. I rewatched All Good Things the other day, and it was a magical ending to the show. But then you had the subsequent movies in between that kind of left some of the storylines up in the air. And Picard has really been just going in and just tying up nice little bows on some of those stories. And it's really made me happy. Deep Space Nine, in retrospect, though, the early episodes, it is like all Star Trek shows, I think, something that requires some time and energy to get momentum and get going. I think pretty much every series has started slow to some degree. Some pick up, better than others. I think Strange New Worlds is probably the biggest outlier there, where it just right in and it's perfect. And Lower Decks, I think, as well. But most Star Trek series, they take a little while to build steam. And things that I'm learning from the first several episodes, rewatching Deep Space Nine, ACAB includes Odo. And
okay, all right.
Early episode, Julian is a total creep, and I hope I'm remembering correctly that he gets his act together as his character becomes more complex and nuanced throughout the later into the show. But 2.5, I still see that tension in that first scene with Garrick every fucking time. Like, how does anyone not see that? It's so perfect. And 3, the trans allegory through Dax is stronger than I remember it being. It's very, very clumsy, and the characters stumble all over it. But given that was a topic that wasn't widely discussed and certainly not widely embraced in the late 90s, I'm actually pretty surprised at how well they handled. And I remember elements of that growing up, but more of the well, I'm the same person. I'm your friend. Yes, I have this other personality from my previous host, but me. But getting more into the yes, you knew me as a man. Now I am a woman. Let's move on with our lives. The scene that you quote all the time with the Klingon, Curzon, my old friend. Actually, it's Jadzia now. Jadzia, my old friend. Yeah, I love that. So I'm definitely I will be watching that storyline with a more critical eye this time through. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention that Next Level Chef is getting intense.
Gotta drop the update for Next Level Chef. Yeah, we watched an episode together while we were off on our little writer's vacation. And yeah, I can see the appeal of it. I was never one for reality shows of any type.
Sure.
They never really appealed to me. But that one I was kind of like, I could see, I like the human cheering on the humans and seeing them succeed or fail is exciting.
That's the thing. Is like most reality shows historically have been all about like how can we drum up as much artificial drama and bullshit as possible. But I think more and more we're seeing shows that like kind of inspired probably by like Bake Off, and we had shows like I think Making It that Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman did, like shows like that lean more into, we want to see people succeed. We want to take people who are at the top of their game and give them an opportunity and encourage them and like really try to grow them. And like some of them, there's still a little bit of drama, and like some of it, like you can tell when the contestants still feel like they're either being coerced into it or they feel like they need to force a little bit of like, I'm the top dog here. But like comparing a lot of some of these reality shows now to like we talked about a couple weeks ago when Ellen and I tried to watch, I think it was season 10 of Hell's Kitchen, and just what a fucking nightmare that was. Like not only was Gordon like abusive, but like the contestants, every single one of them were just completely toxic and gross to each other. And it's like, why? And like now, like, yes, there's a lot of yelling and like berating from Gordon on that show, and there's some cattiness, but at the end of the day, it is significantly more constructive and productive. But then, like, you see a completely different side of Gordon on shows like Next Level, and that's what I love. Like, there was a chef that got let go from the competition recently that was very young, and you could see the whole time Gordon was just like mentoring them like a father, and was just so kind and empathetic. And I always love seeing that. I love competition shows where not only do the contestants build one up and support one another, but the hosts and the judges are all trying to like really bring out the best in every single person that's in the show. That to me, like, that's what a competition should be.
Yeah, I think, back in the day, I remember watching America's Next Top Model, with like my wife and stuff like that. And I remember us watching it and being like, I get it's a tough industry and they're trying to really like, whip them into shape and stuff like that. But why are they so mean about it?
Right.
Like there was a thing where it was like, you're just downright mean. Like it's not like tough love. It was just mean. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they're like, well, this, you have to get used to it because this is the industry. And it's like, yeah, but is it really?
And
like,
if like,
it could be tough without that.
Even if that is the case, like, why are we not recognizing that and working to change it? Like, here is a platform where we can say like, yeah, the industry's like this, but we're not gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be. If you're in a bad industry, like there's a lot of film sets that outright, day one will be like, we're not going to be yelling. We're not flipping over things. Like, no matter how hard it gets, like, we're going to be cool. We're going to talk to each other. Like, I'm not going to run one of those film sets where I'm the director yelling at everybody or the producers are in yelling at everybody. Mm-hmm. And we did that with our set too. We were very particular about that. Like, we wanted to make sure that everybody felt welcome the entire time. Mm-hmm. And, nobody was flipping out, and nobody did. We had no moments like that. And it was great.
It was really great. Like that was, my first experience on set was about as good as it could possibly go.
This is true. Yeah. I mean, severely funded and rushed, but it was really good. It was a good environment. It was very good. Good taste for everything. Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of good, rising to different levels and stuff like that, I recently went and saw the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh shit! I've been hearing lots of stuff.
So this movie is likely going to break $1 billion, probably in the next couple of weeks.
Damn.
And the other thing about this is that it's the fastest growing or the largest opening of an animated series or an animated movie ever. Like, including Disney, it was the largest opening of any animated movie ever.
Now, does that count?
Which is wild.
Does that count Avatar? Because I consider Avatar to be an animated movie.
It does not count Avatar. No, I don't think so. At least, but yeah, I mean, largest opening. I mean, it's hovering somewhere around like $900 million right now.
That's incredible.
And, if we remember correctly from the Super Mario Brothers, everyone was like, oh my God, this is super exciting. And they're like, who's playing Mario? And then they were like, Chris Pratt. And everyone went,
Boo.
Okay, well, hold on a second. That sounds terrible. You need to tell me why. And they were like, nope, we're doubling down. It's Chris Pratt and you're just going to have to like it. And I went to this movie because my daughter really, really wanted to see this movie. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to turn her down a movie because like I disagreed with a casting choice.
Sure.
Like that is very petty of me and silly. And that would just do her a disservice. So I was like, let's go see it. I was like, I like everybody. Charlie Day as Luigi, great. Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach, awesome. Jack Black as Bowser, flawless. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad. I'm like, all the rest of the cast is great. It looks really good. Like it looks very, on brand to Mario. I was like, oh, we'll go see it. We'll see how it is. And like minute one, I was like, fucking Chris Pratt. But then they do a thing where they explain why he has the accent he does and why he talks the way he does. And I was like, oh, this actually really makes sense. And I agreed with it. And then after they did it, I was like, I am on board with Chris Pratt as Mario, surprisingly. He does have a little bit of an Italian accent, so like he still sounds like a plumber from Brooklyn, but he doesn't sound, the It's a Me Mario, the high-pitched, hey, how you doing, but he does it as like a thing, and then you're like, oh, I get it. So love that. So I was actually really into that. The movie is really funny.
Okay.
It was super fun. Had a really good time. There's a really great nihilist character that you see, and it was just amazing. Probably one of the like funniest things I've ever seen in an animated movie. And, obviously went over the kids' heads, but like all the adults were like, this is hilarious. I thought it was pretty good. Jack Black, absolutely great as Bowser. I like that they gave Bowser a little more of a personality instead of just like smash, smash. Like he has more depth to his character. Same thing with Peach. They gave her a little more than like rescue me, Mario. She, without it being like pandering, it's like, oh, she's the tough, cool female. Like she kind of fit perfectly in the middle, and I really liked that. And, Charlie Day as Luigi, good. Wish we saw him more. Right. Likely in the sequel. It is guaranteed getting a sequel. Likely in the sequel, we'll get more of him. Insane amounts of old school Nintendo references. I mean, like, far right blurred out background corner of a window. You're like, hey, that's a thing. Like that's how many like Easter eggs there were in this movie. Beyond belief. Like I'm talking way back to like the original Mario design, how Mario originally looked. Jumpman. There's that. Yeah, Jumpman. There's Jumpman is literally in the movie. As a side character or whatever, who is played by Christopher Martinet, who is the original voice of Mario.
Hey.
He does the Jumpman voice, which I think is really great. Sorry if I pronounce his name wrong. I'm just trying to do it out of memory. A lot of great references. Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong fit perfectly. Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong, also good. Really great. So, if you haven't seen the movie yet, you need to go see it. It's totally worth it. If you were a holdout because of Chris Pratt, you got to trust me. It makes sense. It makes sense for this movie, and it works. So you just kind of got to go with it. We can't objectively, Chris Pratt is funny, right? We know that Chris Pratt can be funny, from Parks and Rec to Guardians of the Galaxy, to other things he's in. Chris Pratt can be funny. Yeah. We know this. And he is funny in this movie, whether we disagree with the casting choice or not, it totally worked. I was surprised. Count me as a believer who, when I was a very large skeptic. In fact, you can go back to my Twitter timeline and see many tweets about this, where I was like, "Fuck this."
When you saw his face, you were a believer.
Yeah, it's true, without a trace. In fact, no doubt in my mind. every old person got that joke. Anyone under like 30 is like, who the fuck are you talking about? Well, I guess that's not true. If you saw Shrek, you know what we're talking about.
Like there's an entire generation that it basically like holds up Shrek like a like a demigod of some sort.
I do not understand it. I do not like the Shrek movies.
I didn't dislike them, but like I don't think of them as like cinematic masterpieces like a lot of our younger contemporaries do.
Yes, I will agree. Mike Myers is one of those people that like his jokes are insanely predictable and his characters are grating in a lot of his movies. I like Mike Myers. But the thing is he's like a Ben Stiller to me because everyone's like, Mike Myers, Shrek, Austin Powers. And I'm like, so I married an axe murderer, Wayne's World. What movies are you talking about? Those are terrible movies compared to those other movies. Like, so I married an axe murderer is a flawless movie. Like that is the movie you should be quoting for Mike Myers. Like Blow. That is movies you should be quoting for Mike Myers. Same thing I am with Ben Stiller. Like, I'm thinking like his old, rom-com movies and not like, Zoolander or any of those movies.
I gotta say though, I did not like Ben Stiller for a very, very long time. I still really don't, but I did fucking love Zoolander. And I don't know if it's because like I maybe like I watched it with a friend who was really into it and kind of fed off that energy or what. I don't remember the circumstances, but like I did enjoy that movie. And that was really weird for me because like I can't name you a single other thing that I've seen Ben Stiller in that I liked.
I always forget that Alexander Skarsgård is in that movie. He plays one of the models that has the gas fight.
Yes.
And I always forget that he was like that main character because every time this is back then, I would watch True Blood and then I was like, oh shit, he's in Zoolander, like as one of the models. And it's so funny to look back and be like, that guy, this hunk of a man was that guy.
Just because we're really, 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 really ridiculously good looking doesn't mean we can't not die in fake gasoline fight accidents.
Exactly. And then of course, I watched another movie just recently, which is also getting a little bit of contention right now. There's a little bit of critics warring, sort of. But the movie Ghosted, which stars Chris Evans and Ana de Armas.
Oh, yeah.
And a slew of Marvel cameos, which are literally cameos, not even like... is one guy in, like they literally cameo. Yeah, right.
On their phone?
Not that kind of cameo, not on the phone. But they literally like drop in one after another, and it's just this really, really funny scenario. So here's the thing about Ghosted.
That's on Apple TV Plus, right?
That's on Apple TV Plus. Yep, correct. So it's getting a lot of like negative reviews, and I completely understand why. However, I think if a lot of people, like most of the reviews I read are like, the action is great, but then everything else is terrible. And I think, okay. And I'm like, yeah, because you went into it going, Chris Evans must be an action movie, it's Chris Evans and a spy and, they're traveling all over the globe and explosions and stuff like that. It's an action movie. It is not an action movie. It is through and through a romantic comedy. And I think if you look at it from that lens, you're more likely to like the movie. Now, a lot of complaints are that Chris Evans and Ana de Armas don't have chemistry, which I argue because I would say, like, this is another objective statement. They are probably two of the most beautiful people in the world, right? They are both beautiful, like fucking beautiful people, top to bottom. And it's just what, when you see them together, you're just like, oh my God, make babies. Like, Jesus, like this is perfect society level, like gorgeous here. And it's just crazy, and I understand why they say that. The movie spends a lot of time, not really a will they, won't they, but like this is enemies become lovers type thing, to a degree. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I get it. But like Chris Evans plays a character unlike any character he's played before. He is the damsel in distress in this movie. And I really liked that take on it he has his, couple of actiony moments, but they're few and far between. It's really Ana de Armas. I mean, I'm not spoiling anything. This is in the trailer. He's interviewed about it. Like, his big interview scene is saying he found it fun to play the damsel in distress. So I'm not spoiling anything. But I liked it because that's, again, that's one of those stories we don't see very often, where it's kind of that gender flop of, the girl rescuing the guy. It's normally the guy rescuing the girl. And even sometimes when it's the girl main character, the guy ends up rescuing her for some reason. That's not the case in this, really. Yep. And I really liked it. I enjoyed it. I love rom-coms, though. And I felt it the whole way through. It didn't hit me, like I didn't tear up in any moments, even in the big ending of the movie, I'm not like, oh, I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. Like it was just a satisfying movie,
sure.
But I wouldn't put it on the top of any other it's not going to make a rom-com list by any means, so I do understand the negative critic reviews of it. I don't understand the veracity of them, though. I think you could be like, it was an okay rom-com and the action was kind of cool. And that's kind of where you leave that review. Not like this was a bloated mess of a rom-com with zero emotional connection and chemistry between two main characters who should have had it really. I'm like, all right, well, calm down. It's not that bad. Like, you're being a little dramatic right now.
Yeah. Wow.
But that's I do recommend that movie. It's good.
So that leads me to wonder. The trivia for this film states that Scarlett Johansson was originally attached to it, and we know there's unquestionably on-screen chemistry between Scarlett and Chris just from seeing them work together. Now, I don't necessarily I could be wrong. I don't recall ever seeing them in a romantic pairing together, but just seeing them as Cap and Natasha. In the Endgame and
Captain America
Infinity
2 when they
War
had that
the whole basically that whole Infinity Gauntlet saga of the Avengers, seeing those two on screen together, it worked really fucking well. So if she hadn't had conflicts and had to drop, I wonder how much differently people would be talking about this movie.
You know what though? I actually kind of think it's better that she did, because of all of the MCU cameos that happen. Like I said, they're literally back to back. They're not one guy in the middle and the other one towards the end. It's one happens and the other happens immediately after, and then the next one and the next one is just three in a row. I think it would distract from the movie, because I feel like everyone would be like, it's Captain America. I think it would give the same sort of thing where people would be like, why isn't Captain America saving the day? I don't understand. I feel like that may be the thing, because he doesn't save the day. That's not his character. So I wonder if it would take away from it.
I think there's no getting around the fact that some people are going to have a shitty take if there's a guy who's not the hero.
True. And that may also be the case as well. That may be the thing that's maybe it's not purposeful. Maybe it's even a subconscious misogyny or something that is driving it. But it could very much be that. I mean, I'll be honest, you could remove Chris Evans from that movie entirely, and I still would have liked watching Ana de Armas just fuck shit up. That was a really good part of that movie, is watching Ana de Armas just be dope. And I've seen her in other movies and she's great in them. So that was another one where I'm like, dude, I would just watch that.
Because
just show me that.
As the saying goes, get it.
I do get it. In this case, I do know what it is, and I have gotten it. But yeah, so Super Mario Brothers, go see it. Ghosted, if you have Apple TV Plus, toss it on one night. Watch it with a loved one or someone you want to be a loved one. It's cute enough. You'll get a little bit of action. There's some really funny moments in it as well. Chris Evans' character is I found him very lovable. Ana de Armas' character, super badass. Love that. I mean, I just think it works, but I do understand.
Put it on for a really nice night of Apple TV and wholesome cuddling.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If you can make it to the end of the movie, you know what I mean. Try to, but I'll understand if you don't.
I don't get
it. Then you're out. Yeah. So, hey, we got a brand new episode coming up this Sunday. It's the last one of our month, and this one is a wild German film. I don't know.
French.
It's only dubbed a French film.
French film,
it's only dubbed on Hulu. I wasn't able to find the French version. I don't know if you were able to.
I didn't even try.
Yeah. So it's only dubbed in English on this one, but the movie is called Last Journey of Paul W.R. A little sci-fi flick streaming on Hulu in America as of time of recording this episode. So if you were the type of person that watches movies before we review them, that's where it is. You can go and find it. This happened on my end. I don't know if it happened on your end, but Hulu incorrectly lists the runtime as 15 minutes. It is, in fact, an hour and a half long.
See,
so just as a heads up.
I had checked IMDb first before I even put it on, so I knew that to expect it to be an hour and a half. So I never even noticed that. You pointed it out to me, and I had already watched it. So I was like, well, that's a fun tidbit.
Yeah, and there is, for some reason, a series page about supposedly a TV series with the same name, but there's nothing inside of it. If you click it, it's just an empty box.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I think that's another like Hulu glitch. But yeah, so Paul, the last journey of Paul W.R. Stars Jean Reno and a bunch of other French actors, and you can find it there on Hulu. So, hey, thanks a lot for watching or listening to this episode. In all instances, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We have brand new episodes every Thursday and Sunday, where we're gonna chat about stuff. Every Sunday is our movie reviews. What are we gonna do next month? Who knows? We don't. We'll figure it out though, and it'll be exciting because it's May. I don't know.
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be. Yeah. So hey, thanks a lot for joining us again. And we will see you Sunday.